The Switch 2 has been out for around 3 months, and a lot has happened in those 3 months. I want to use this video to evaluate the success of the Nintendo Switch 2 and see if it's really worth buying. I bought the Switch 2 around 2 weeks after it first released, and I bought it with the Mario Kart World included. Whilst Mario Kart World isn't my perfect Mario Kart game, it still is really fun. I was glued to my screen when playing Mario Kart World, and I loved it throughout. I spent 15 hours playing the game as soon as I got it, until... Nintendo, what is wrong with you? Your game was fine, but you just decided to update it and make it worse? Now, to those of you that don't understand what that patch note meant, essentially, Nintendo decided that driving in straight lines was far better than the actual courses that they spent so much hard work to make. So instead, they made you play courses like this, instead of the courses in the background. Switch 2 released and it immediately sold 1.1 million copies within the first few days. That is more than any other console ever. Alongside the Switch 2, Mario Kart World also released. We've discussed enough about Mario Kart World. Let's talk about the next massive Nintendo game that released on the console. Nintendo songs are just bangers, bro. You go from Mario Kart World, the whole soundtrack, into fucking Donkey Kong Bonanza. Now, this game is not just about the soundtrack. This game is amazing. I tell you, you have to play this game if you have a Switch 2. From the story to the gameplay, it is amazing. This is 100% my Game of the Year contender, and the only Game of the Year game that I played. I don't play many video games anymore, but that doesn't mean I don't know what a banger is. This is a banger. Now, the reason I actually love this game is because the gameplay mechanics are interesting. They are new, they feel fluid, the movement in this game is beautiful. Like, look at this movement. He goes with the jump, he goes up, he speeds with the zebra, then he quickly turns into the snake, and then he jumps up high, and then goes to the elephant, and then rolls over, and then he... From the soundtrack to the gameplay to the movement, this game is perfect. A lot of the concerns that people had with the Switch 2 is that it's not an OLED screen, it's actually still an LCD screen. But if you couldn't tell, the screen looks amazing. In all the previous clips, you could see bright and big and bold Mario Kart World or Donkey Kong Bonanza. You can see it perfectly fine. If anything, I don't mind that it's an LCD screen for the lower price. Brings us on to the next criticism. The price. £400 is a lot for a console that can't play any of the big new releases that AAA companies are pushing out. But similarly to the Switch 1, it made Nintendo innovate and think about the gameplay rather than the graphical side of video games, which really pushed the boundaries of gaming within Nintendo. Games like Zelda Breath of the Wild that really pushed the limits of the Switch, and it won Game of the Year 2017. It just shows how good the game was, even with the graphical issues that the game had on the Switch 1. Not to call the Switch 2 weak, because this is the most powerful console Nintendo has ever made, and it can run amazing games like Cyberpunk. With only 2 exclusives so far within the first 4 months of the Switch 2 lifespan, it is crazy that we have such good games. The PS5 has only 2 exclusive games on the console after 5 years of it being on the market. But the PS5 and the Switch are selling to completely different demographics. The Switch age demographic is lower than what the PS5's age demographic is, because of the Nintendo games on it. Now, not all Nintendo games are child-friendly, but a majority of the games are, including Pokemon, Mario, whatever. The Switch 2 is also a family console. It can play a very wide range of games, from party games to single-player shooters. Games such as Mario Party to the before-mentioned Cyberpunk 2077. This console is a hybrid, not only in the games that it can play, but the fact that it can be connected to a TV and be played docked. Now, home consoles and handheld consoles have a completely different market to each other, but combining them means Nintendo can sell far more consoles than before. This is part of the reason why Switch 1 sold so many consoles, due to its nature being a hybrid console. Now, whilst being docked, the Switch 2 can run 4K and 60 FPS, whilst in handheld it can run 60 FPS 940p, which is the resolution of the screen itself. Now, obviously this varies from game to game. Some games you'll have 1080p with 60 FPS whilst docked, while some games it'll be lower or higher. The standard for most games on the Switch 2 is usually 60 FPS on 1080p whilst it's docked. Now, my biggest issue with the console has to be with the battery. The battery life on this console is absolutely dreadful. Me just being on this home screen has drained 16% of it throughout this whole video. I have not played a single game, I have left it on the home screen the whole time. I find this dying after 2 hours of playing Mario Kart World, which is absolutely dreadful for any long car rides or any airplane journeys without any chargers. I find this extremely disappointing after spending £400 on this. Then again, I don't really use this outside of my home, so I always have a charger nearby. Although when I did take this to Canada, it was quite hard to keep playing it because of the poor battery life. Playing in an airport always felt like I was risking it, seeing if the battery would die or not. This is partly my fault for buying the Switch 2 within the first month of releasing. Future down the timeline, Nintendo might make a new Switch 2 that is the same price as the old one, but has a better battery life than the current Switch 2 that we have. They did the same thing to the OG Switch ones, where they released it and then a couple of years down the line, they made a new Switch that had a better battery life called the Red Box Switch. Maybe if Nintendo just made a better battery, the Switch 2 wouldn't be so expensive and it wouldn't die after 2 hours of playing. This is your life if you buy the Switch 2 within 4 months. Overall, I love the Switch 2. Nintendo has always been a massive part in my life, and I will always buy the next Nintendo console, no matter what it is. You could sell me shit and toilet paper and I would buy it and I would glaze it. But in all seriousness, it's hard to pick up the Switch 2 with the lackluster line of games. The games are amazing, but they do get boring after a few hours playing them. Donkey Kong Bonanza is amazing, but after you've 100%ed it, there's not much to do. There is no way I'm spending £20 for something that should have been in the base game. They've solved most of the problems with Mario Kart World by increasing the rates of tracks instead of long intermissions. Worldwides are playable now that they're not just intermissions after intermissions after intermissions. We actually play the tracks that we want instead of the stupid intermission. After all, we're 4 months in. Let's see where we are in a year.